What if Blackbeard found the One Piece first? What if Blackbeard found the One Piece first? Point of divergence. Blackbeard steals the final route. The change in this timeline is simple, but devastating. Blackbeard completes the road poneglyph route before the Straw Hats by stealing information instead of earning it. He exploits the chaos of the final saga, captures or coerces the wrong people at the right time, and uses underworld contacts to assemble enough of the map to reach Laughtail first. Luffy is still sailing toward the truth. Blackbeard is already turning that truth into a weapon. Cold open. What if Luffy didn't arrive at Laughtail to claim the One Piece, but to clean up the mess after someone else already had? Imagine the final saga starting not with the Straw Hats discovering the last island, but with a broadcast. Blackbeard, laughing, declaring to the world that he has reached the end of the Grand Line, and that he knows the truth the world government has tried to bury for 800 years. From that moment, everything changes. The race is over. The era is on fire. And Luffy's dream of becoming Pirate King is no longer just about chasing a treasure. It's about stopping the man who's already holding it. So let's ask the question. What happens to One Piece if Blackbeard reaches Laughtail before Luffy? Section 1. Why Blackbeard winning the race changes everything. To understand how terrifying this scenario is, we have to ground it in how the race to Laughtail actually works. Reaching the final island isn't about who has the strongest crew or the biggest fleet. It's a puzzle. You need all 4 road poneglyphs, and you need someone who can read them. You need the courage to sail past the point of no return. And you need timing, because every major power in the world is moving toward that same finish line. Roger's crew solved that puzzle once. Now, in the current era, we're watching a second generation of monsters closing in. Luffy, Blackbeard, Shanks, and the world government itself. Luffy's approach is straightforward. Forge bonds, topple tyrants, pick fights with emperors, and trust that everything will somehow work out. His weakness is just as clear. He always stops to help people, even if it slows him down. Blackbeard's approach is the opposite. He doesn't care about saving anyone. He waits. He exploits. He steals. He waited decades on Whitebeard's crew for the right devil fruit. He invaded Impel Down to recruit monsters from the deep-sea prison. He hijacked Marineford's chaos to steal the world's most destructive power. Every major step in his rise isn't about hard work, it's about striking when everyone else is distracted. So in this what-if scenario, Blackbeard doesn't outrun Luffy in a fair, honest race. He engineers the race. As the balance of the world collapses, emperors falling, old guard dying, islands in rebellion, Blackbeard quietly uses that chaos as cover. His network of captains and spies is the dark mirror of Luffy's alliances. Where Luffy earns loyalty, Blackbeard buys or tortures information. He targets underworld brokers who once worked with Kaido and Big Mom. He captures key informants who know the location or rubbings of road poneglyphs. He raids a weakened territory, maybe even an abandoned Big Mom stronghold or a fragmented Wano connection, to snag the missing pieces. Most crucially, he doesn't need to do it all personally. His crew is full of specialists, former jailers, assassins, freak geniuses, each one perfect for quietly cutting off paths that other pirates might use. While Luffy is pulled into saving islands, freeing nations, and clashing head-on with powerful enemies, Blackbeard builds the complete map in the shadows. By the time the Straw Hats think they're entering the final stretch, Blackbeard has already lined up the coordinates, already read the route. Whether by leveraging an outside scholar, taking hostages, or twisting someone like Pudding or a surviving poneglyph reader to his will. The difference? Luffy is still running the race. Blackbeard is already at the finish line. Retention beat number 1, around 3 to 4 minutes. Here's where it gets dangerous. Blackbeard doesn't just arrive at Laughtail and say, "Nice treasure." He gets there, sees what the One Piece really is, and immediately realizes something Luffy would never do. The truth of that island can be used as a weapon. Section 2. Blackbeard reaches Laughtail, a ship unlike any other. The hulking mass of the Saber of Xebec, breaching the final fog, riding the last impossible currents. The crew is laughing, jeering, mocking the legends they're about to step into. Blackbeard has done what only Roger did before him. He's reached Laughtail. We don't know for certain what the island holds, and this story won't pretend to turn theory into fact. But we do know the broad strokes. The truth of the Void Century. The story of Joy Boy and the Ancient Kingdom. the real origin of the world's current structure, and the true nature, symbolic or literal, of the treasure known as the One Piece. Roger's crew famously laughed when they saw it. They saw a story, a world-spanning joke, a failed promise that could be completed by someone else. Blackbeard doesn't laugh that way. He stands in the center of the ancient ruins, hears the echo of Joy Boy's apology or promise, sees the impossible technology or ancient message, and his mind starts turning like a war machine. Where Roger saw a call to finish someone else's dream, Blackbeard sees a manual for hijacking it. He learns the world government's original crime, the true power or role of the ancient weapons, the meaning of the D, and why it terrifies the rulers of the world, and the conditions under which this world can be reset or liberated. The key One Piece rule is this: the treasure isn't just gold, it's information and legacy on a world-shattering scale. If exposed honestly, it would shake the faith of kingdoms, marines, and citizens everywhere. Roger chose not to reveal it directly, in part because the era wasn't ready. He jumped ahead, sparking an age of piracy instead. Blackbeard? He's not so patient. He doesn't intend to prepare the world for this truth. He intends to own it. He's one of the few characters who would look at an ancient message about freedom and say, "Perfect, I can use this to rule." Retention beat number 2, around 7 to 8 minutes. The most terrifying part isn't that Blackbeard knows the truth. It's that he knows it before Luffy. Every reaction Luffy will eventually have, Blackbeard has already had time to plan around. Section 3. Turning the One Piece into a weapon. So what does Blackbeard do first? He doesn't leave Laugh Tale and broadcast the entire history like a noble revolutionary. That's not his style. Truth to him is leverage. Maybe he finds an ancient recording device, a message from the past, something unmistakably real. Maybe he uncovers hints about the location or activation of some dormant world mechanism, an island, a weapon, a sea level change, or a power that, if triggered, could literally reshape the political map. He doesn't tell the world government is evil. Here's the full story. Let's all be free. He says, I know what they did. I know how this world is built. And I know where it can break. Blackbeard plays a game of partial revelation. He sends out a broadcast through underworld channels, pirate radio, or stolen transponder networks. I've reached the final island. I know the truth the celestial dragons fear. I know about the ancient kingdom they erased. He leaks just enough details to make it undeniable. Names, years, maybe a short visual, or symbol no one should know unless they'd stood on Laugh Tale themselves. At the same time, he stays vague about the full scope, hinting that only he, and he alone, understands how to use this knowledge. Instant panic. For pirates, Blackbeard becomes a beacon. The man who stole Whitebeard's power now claims to hold the final treasure, the final history, and the key to a new era. For kingdoms, he's a demon with a detonator. If he can reveal that their alliance with the world government rests on a centuries-old lie, their citizens might rebel overnight. For the world government, this is their worst nightmare. And Blackbeard knows it. He starts playing factions against each other. He offers deals to terrified kings. Recognize me as the true pirate king. Offer me resources, and I won't release what I know about your country's role in the Void Century cover-up. He taunts the Marines and Cypher Pole. Send your fleets, hunt me down, but I've already scattered pieces of this truth across the seas. Try to kill me, and all of it gets released. He frames himself as the inevitable ruler of the final age. Roger started this era. I'll be the one who decides how it ends. Not by strength alone, but by holding history hostage. Retention beat number 3, around 10 to 11 minutes. Here's the twist. The world government's response to Blackbeard isn't just to target him. It's to target anyone who might hear what he's learned. Suddenly, knowing too much becomes a death sentence, and that puts Luffy's entire network of allies in danger, before he even understands why. Section 4. The world government's panic. The world government has spent 800 years erasing the Void Century, hunting scholars, burning libraries, and silencing anyone who gets close to the truth. Now a Yonko with 2 devil fruits, a berserker crew, and a talent for chaos has stood where Roger once stood. And he's proudly announcing it. They have no choice. They move into full panic mode. The Gorosei convene emergency sessions. Emu, the Shadow Sovereign, orders sweeping measures. Fleet Admiral level power is mobilized in a way we've never seen before. This time, it's not a buster call on a single island. It's a global crackdown. Kingdoms suspected of harboring poneglyphs are hit first. Any island known to have sheltered scholars, revolutionaries, or D-carriers comes under sudden surveillance or outright attack. Cypherpol agents are told, eliminate anyone who may be in a position to interpret what Blackbeard found. This includes archaeologists, revolutionaries, and one very specific archaeologist sailing with a certain straw hat. At the same time, the Marines can't just declare all of this publicly. They can't admit that Blackbeard has something that could delegitimize their entire existence. So officially, he's just a pirate threat. Unofficially, he's a ticking time bomb strapped to the world's history. Their strategy becomes twofold. 1. Containment. Shut down information routes. Jam or cut off long-range communications. Crack down on any attempt by pirates to spread myths about the Void Century. 2. Eradication. Track Blackbeard's last known position. Deploy admirals, holy knights, or even secret weapons to intercept him before he can build a stable empire around what he knows. And because the world government operates on fear, they don't stop there. They go after anyone remotely connected to the D-name or ancient research. The Revolutionary Army suddenly faces more intense attacks. Allies of Luffy like Alabasta, Dressrosa, Fishman Island, and Wano could find themselves under new pressure, accused of harboring dangerous knowledge. Anyone who has ever protected Robin, or even heard whispers of the Void Century, becomes a liability. The world doesn't just get more dangerous for pirates in general, it gets more dangerous specifically for people like Luffy, who have a habit of collecting outcasts the government already fears. Retention beat number 4, around 14 to 15 minutes, and this is when the news finally reaches the Thousand Sunny. Blackbeard has already been to Laugh-Tale. The race Luffy thought he was running is already over. From here on, he's not sailing toward the One Piece, he's chasing the man who's turned it into a threat. Section 5. Luffy's desperate pivot. The Straw Hats are moving into what they think is the final stretch of the Grand Line. Alliances are forming. Enemies are clashing. Then a trembling transmission comes through from one of their allies, a revolutionary, a former Yonko subordinate, maybe even Shank's crew. Straw Hat, you're too late. Blackbeard made it first. The reactions? Luffy goes dead silent for a moment, then laughs it off in classic Luffy fashion, at first. So what? I'll just beat him and take it back. But as more details come in, worldwide panic, government crackdowns, reports that Blackbeard is talking about the truth of the world, it starts to sink in. This isn't like someone beating him to the finish line in a fun race. Blackbeard having the One Piece doesn't just threaten Luffy's pride, it threatens everyone Luffy has ever saved. Robin, especially, becomes central here. She listens to the fragmented rumors, the way Blackbeard describes what he saw, the hints of Joy Boy, and the Void Century he let slip. She understands immediately. He's not just bragging, he's weaponizing the past. For Robin, this is a nightmare. Robin's entire life has been about surviving the government's genocide against knowledge. Now a pirate who doesn't care about the truth's meaning is using it as a bargaining chip. For Nami, the navigator, the pressure shifts dramatically. The sea isn't just dangerous because of storms and log poses anymore. It's about dodging war zones, blockades, and islands being raised on suspicion alone. Getting anywhere near Blackbeard becomes a navigation problem on the scale the crew has never faced. Usopp, of course, freaks out spectacularly. He already got the One Piece? We're done. Game over. Let's go home. But even in his fear, Usopp becomes useful. His lies and bluffs, his sense of rumors and morale, let him pick up on just how badly the world is panicking, and how that panic could be used against Blackbeard. Zoro and Sanji? For them, this is simple. There's a guy out there calling himself the Pirate King, and it's not you. That's unacceptable. The Straw Hat's entire goal shifts. No longer reach Laugh-Tale first. Now, close the distance to Blackbeard. Protect our allies from the government's purge. Stop Blackbeard from twisting the One Piece into chains. The tone of their adventure changes. The fun, episodic rhythm of island-to-island exploration gives way to something closer to a campaign. Every stop is a potential trap, a battlefield, or a burning ruin in the wake of Blackbeard or the Marines. Some islands beg Luffy for help against Marine crackdowns, inspired by rumors of ancient secrets. Others have already made secret deals with Blackbeard, hoping his knowledge will buy them protection. Some are simply too terrified to take a side, becoming cold, suspicious, or outright hostile. The Straw Hats are now chasing a moving target in a collapsing world. Retention beat number 5, around 18 to 19 minutes. And while Luffy scrambles to catch up, Blackbeard isn't waiting. He's already started his endgame, using the One Piece as proof that he's the only man who can shape the next era. Section 6. Blackbeard starts the endgame. Blackbeard's not satisfied with simply declaring himself Pirate King. The road poneglyphs, the emperors, the Revolutionary Army, the Navy, none of that matters to him if he can't lock in that title with something undeniable. And what's more undeniable than, I stood where Roger stood, I know what he knew, and I have what he didn't dare use. He starts to formalize his position. Step 1. Territory. Using the aura of the One Piece, he demands obedience from weaker pirate crews and neutral islands. You want to survive what's coming? Fly my flag. Swear your loyalty, and when the truth comes out, I'll make sure your island's on the winning side. Step 2. Leverage over the world government. He sends his demands. Recognition de facto, if not de jure, as the Pirate King. Non-interference in certain key territories, perhaps even some kind of unspoken truce while he consolidates power. He makes it clear, if the world government pushes him too hard, he'll trigger a widespread release of what he found on Laugh-Tale, through hidden allies, dead man switches, or prearranged brokers who have copies of his evidence. Step 3. Ancient power. Depending on how you imagine the One Piece and Joy Boy's legacy, Blackbeard might also gain breadcrumbs leading to an ultimate mechanism. An island, a machine, a set of instructions for the ancient weapons, or a reset event, like the rumored giant straw hat or sea level catastrophe. Here's the key. He can't instantly control it. He doesn't become omnipotent overnight. But he knows enough to start moving toward it, and to convince the world that only he and he alone knows how to manage it. This creates a horrifyingly grounded endgame triangle. Blackbeard has the truth and the initiative. The world government has fear and overwhelming force. Luffy has the will to stop both from hijacking the future. And meanwhile, every other major power has to choose a side. Shanks, if he's still alive and active, can no longer play the balancing guardian. He either steps in directly to block Blackbeard, or becomes collateral damage in Blackbeard's expansion. Former allies like Law or Kid are forced to reconsider their paths. Do they aim for Laugh-Tale anymore, or do they aim for Blackbeard's throat? Other emperors and major pirates can't just shrug and say, we'll see how it plays out. Once the truth is in play, neutrality is basically suicide. Retention beat number 6, around 22-23 minutes. As Blackbeard closes in on using the One Piece to trigger some final, world-shaping event, Luffy finally closes the distance. The chase transforms into something bigger, a three-way war where the prize isn't just the One Piece, but who gets to define what it means. Section 7. The final collision. Luffy versus Blackbeard versus the world. The stage for the climax in this what if isn't Laugh-Tale. Instead, imagine a different kind of final battlefield, an island or location tied to the ultimate fallout of the Void Century. Maybe an ancient weapons resting place, a crucial control point for whatever world reset mechanism is hinted at in the final truth, or a symbolic stage where all three factions converge. Blackbeard has entrenched himself there, surrounded by his twisted empire of pirate allies and conquered territories. The world government has assembled a strike force unlike anything we've seen. Admirals, holy knights, secret weapons, perhaps even Emu themselves, manifesting directly. And cutting through the chaos, flying the flag of the Jolly Roger with a straw hat on top, comes the Thousand Sunny. The battlefield breaks into layers. At the center, Luffy versus Blackbeard. On the perimeter, Straw Hat fights against Blackbeard's titanic captains. From above and afar, marine bombardments, cipher pole assassinations, and maybe even a clash between revolutionary forces and government elites. Blackbeard fights as he always does. Dirty. He uses his darkness to suppress devil fruits, his quake power to shatter the terrain, the psychological weight of what he knows. At key moments, he throws pieces of the truth in Luffy's face. You don't even know what you're fighting for, Straw Hat. You want freedom, but you don't understand the cost of breaking this world's chains. Joy Boy failed. Roger failed. I'm the only one willing to use what they found. He might even try to shake Luffy's resolve by revealing hard truths about the D, about Dragon and the revolutionaries, about the nature of the Red Line or the ancient kingdom's power. But this is where Luffy's strength becomes something even Blackbeard can't fully plan around. Luffy doesn't need every detail of the truth to know what he's fighting for. He's seen enough tyranny. He's seen enough suffering at the hands of both pirates and world government leaders. Whether the ancient kingdom was perfect or flawed, whether Joy Boy's plan was simple or complicated, Luffy's North Star doesn't change. Nobody gets to own freedom. Not celestial dragons, not Emu, not the Gorosei, and not Blackbeard using Joy Boy's legacy as a leash. Zoro crosses blades with Shiryu in a lethal duel of assassins versus guardians. Sanji clashes with Lafitte or Burgess in the skies, protecting civilians caught in the crossfire. Robin, and maybe the Revolutionary Army, fight desperately to secure or destroy key information before the government or Blackbeard can twist it further. Usopp, Nami, Frankie, Brook, Jinbei, Chopper, each using their strengths to keep the Sunny afloat in the storm of a literal World War battlefield. The government slams into Blackbeard from another side, not to protect Luffy, but to erase everyone. Collateral damage is acceptable. Oceans rising, islands sinking, even an ancient weapon stirring. Nothing is off the table when three powers are all willing to risk the world to shape its future. Can Luffy end Blackbeard's reign over the One Piece without letting the same truth become just another tool for control? Retention beat number 7, around 26 to 27 minutes. The real prize here isn't who physically holds the chest or stands on Laugh Tale. It's who walks away with the right and the courage to use the truth not as a weapon, but as a promise. Section 8. Resolution. Blackbeard wins the first round, Luffy wins the war. So how does this what-if timeline end? Let's follow the option that feels the most like One Piece. Blackbeard wins the opening move, but Luffy wins the era. Blackbeard's victory in this scenario is real and significant. He reaches Laugh Tale first. He understands the truth of the Void Century before Luffy. He uses that knowledge to accelerate the final saga into open, global chaos. For a time, he really is the Pirate King, not just by strength, but by influence. His name shapes the seas. His words can start or stop wars. His threats make kings tremble. But his fatal flaw has always been the same: greed without limits. He believes he can control everything: the strongest devil fruits, the most dangerous prisoners, the biggest secrets. And in trying to control something as huge as the true history of the world, he finally overreaches. His crew, a pack of opportunistic monsters, starts to fracture under the pressure of his ambitions. Some only join for power or plunder, not to get dragged into a cosmic, ideological war. His leverage over the world government weakens when their desperation peaks. They would rather risk everything than live forever under his blackmail. His attempts to harness the ultimate endgame mechanism hinted at by Laugh Tale backfire, destabilizing the world in ways he can't fully predict or manage. And into that chaos steps Luffy, not as the boy chasing the same treasure, but as the man fighting to free the world from how that treasure is being abused. By the time Luffy finally defeats Blackbeard, through sheer will, bonded crew, and his own connection to Joy Boy's legacy, the One Piece has changed hands twice. First, Roger passes the dream forward. Then Blackbeard tries to turn that dream into a chain. Finally, Luffy breaks it. Luffy's victory isn't about erasing the truth or burying the Void Century again. It's about refusing to monopolize it. Where Blackbeard says, "This knowledge is mine, obey or die," Luffy says, "This world belongs to everyone. Live how you want." The world government's legitimacy is shattered. Their secrets can't be fully contained anymore. The truth about the ancient kingdom and the D spreads, not as a top-down manifesto, but as stories, fragments of history told by survivors, scholars like Robin, and people who lived through the final war. The ancient powers, whatever they are exactly, become tools either sealed away or repurposed toward a freer world, rather than weapons of domination. And the title of Pirate King, in this version of history, has a different shine. It doesn't belong to the man who touched Laugh Tale first. It belongs to the man who, even when someone else got there before him, refused to let that truth be used to put the world in chains. Luffy doesn't need to be first to win. He just needs to be the one who, in the end, does the right thing with what the One Piece truly means. So in a world where Blackbeard reaches Laugh Tale before Luffy, who breaks first under the weight of the truth? Blackbeard, the world government, or the rest of the pirate era trying to survive between them? And here's a follow-up what if to chew on. If Shanks showed up at Laugh Tale before both of them, would he reveal the truth, or hide it one last time? Tell me your take and which first to Laugh Tale scenario you want to explore next.